Week 18 preview show on the Pump Fake. Jarrett Bailey with you as always. Joined today by my friend from the Draft Network, Damian Parson. It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. The season always goes by quick. I feel like we get to this point very quickly.
Yep.
Once you hit like July and get to camp, it's a blur. So we've reached this point, and it's a crucial point in terms of next week's going to be wild card weekend. We still have a few playoff spots up for grabs that are going to be decided this weekend. We'll start with the big one, which is also the final game of the NFL season. Buffalo traveling down to Miami to face Miami Dolphins for the second time this season. The first game, Buffalo wins 48-20. A few weeks ago, Dolphins fans were sitting pretty at 9-3. The Bills were trying to just figure stuff out at 6-6, and now they've come back from a 3-game deficit and are looking to win yet another AFC East crown. So, just right off the riff, who are you more confident in going into Week 18, Miami or Buffalo?
I think Buffalo right now. I think just the way they've played over the last couple weeks, like you said, being 6-6, they found themselves in kind of no man's land or the place that no team wanted to be in, right? Especially a team that has so much hype, a team that everybody believed in, and like, man, this is a Super Bowl contending team. Then how the injuries happened defensively, lost some really key players on that side of the ball, but being able to get James Cook going, having to fire the OC, get Joe Brady going, and not having Josh Allen have to suit up as Superman every single week, right? It's okay to be Clark Kent sometimes, Josh. And they kind of picked that up and understood that, and I think it was the Dallas game where we saw James Cook really come into his own, and it's like, yes, more of this, please. Like, run the football, because for me, I feel like these are two teams that are the way I've looked at them is kind of similar. I've never looked at either team as being an uber physical team, right? Like when we think of the NFC North, where it's the Steelers, it's the Bengals, it's the Browns, it's the Ravens. Those are blue blood. Those are hard hat, lunch pail type of teams in that type of division. Where I've always looked at these two teams as more kind of finesse. Like they want to pass the ball. They want to put up high points, right? They almost college style stuff, right? So I think what the big thing we saw in the playoffs against the Bengals at home, you have home field advantage. It's snowing. You should walk out there, and every fan in the building should be like, yo, we're about to run the football and punch this team in the mouth. Well, it was the opposite. Cincinnati did that to you. So I think out of these two teams, now Miami does run the ball. I think Raheem Mostert has like 20 plus touchdowns or something rushing this year.
I think I saw a stat like going into like week 15, Raheem Mostert had more touchdowns than like the Steelers offense, the Jets offense, the band. Like
crazy,
just,
right?
Just running it up.
Didn't have that on the Bengal card for 2023 NFL season. Definitely did not have that on the Bengal card. CMC, yes. Raheem Mostert, I didn't see that coming. Right. So I think Buffalo's willingness to lean on the run, and understand that, hey, and then they have kind of the mental leg up. They put a lot of points up on them early in the season, right?
Yeah.
They were at home, you know what I mean, and everything like that. Now, this end of the season, pivotal game, and it's going to come down to, for me, Tua has to erase a narrative this year, right? Like, he's been healthy. That was the narrative coming in. Like, he can't stay healthy, different things like that. Okay, he's been healthy. He's played good football. But if I remember correctly, I don't think they have a win against a winning team this year.
I think Dallas is the only one that they have.
Yeah, Dallas, correct. That was the one, right? And so now, coming into the situation, you have to get this game back. This is for the division. Yeah. So I'm gonna lean on Josh Allen. I'm gonna lean on James Cook. I'm gonna lean on the Buffalo Bills. I think they're gonna be ready to roll Sunday night, and they don't have to play spoilers. Just walking in there and saying, "Listen, this is our division. We haven't lost it since Tom Brady left. We're not trying to lose it now." So I think I'm leaning with them, but I definitely think that Miami has to come out with a level of urgency early in this game. They have to. If they don't, I don't want to see another game like we saw early in the season. Like, we hate, like, as much as people make it seem like they're cool to watch blowouts, nobody wants to watch that crap. You know what I mean? Like, if it's a blowout game, I'll turn it off at halftime. Like, you know what I'm saying? I actually did that in, I think, one of the playoff. I think the Texas game, Texas and Washington. I was like, well, Washington's got this. It wasn't a blow. I was just like, man, there's like a minute and some change left. They just kicked one side, turned it off. I started like working on some scouting reports. Somebody texted me, was like, yo, you still watching the game? I'm like, no. It's like Texas got the ball back. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? So I think Buffalo is the team I'm going to lean on heading into this game.
Yeah, and you talk about the first game where it was a blowout. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Bills just jumped on Miami early and they couldn't establish any sort of run. And if you're the Dolphins, that's what you want to be able to do, is be able to live with that balance, because if teams can live in too high against Miami, you're doing pretty okay, because once they start getting the run game going and you have to go single high and load the box, then they're going to kill you with the quick passing game, the RPOs, and that's where they'll eat you, over the middle of the field if you only have one deep safety. So Buffalo jumped out on top quick. Things got out of hand because Miami couldn't find any sort of offensive balance. If they can come out fast, then I think we're going to see a much more competitive game rather than Buffalo just pouncing on them early on. The other thing with the Bills, though, and I'm glad that you brought up James Cook, because before they fired Ken Dorsey, it was Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, or they weren't going to win. But you look over the past month or so, Stephon Diggs has 4 consecutive games where he has 5 or fewer catches, and he has, in the last 2 games, against the Chargers, 5 catches, 29 yards, against New England, 4 catches, 26 yards, against Dallas, 4 catches, 48 yards, Kansas City, 4 catches, 24 yards. Teams are gearing up and saying, all right, we're not going to let Stephon Diggs beat us, and he hasn't, but Buffalo has also had Gabe Davis have his monthly good game. They've had James Cook, who I think is still 3rd in the NFL in yards from scrimmage, very quietly behind Tyreek and Christian McCaffrey. So they've had those other guys step up. Kincaid has had his moments this year as well, where he's looked really good. Also, this is a happy accident, but shout out to the boys at Homage for the Bills Beavis and Butthead shirt. That's a great shirt. It's incredible. So shout out to Homage. Defensively, though, too, when Matt Milano went down, all of the the off-ball linebacker duties went to Terrell Bernard, and he's had a fantastic season. And there was a lot of questions about, okay, how good is he going to be? Should they have brought back Tremaine Edmonds? No, man, he's played great. Trading for Russell Douglas at the deadline, everybody at the time was like, okay, sure, whatever, dude. He's been great. So I think defensively, they've had a lot of guys step up, especially in the midst of a lot of injuries. They get Daquan Jones back, which is big. AJ Epinesa came back after he had a brief injury. So at this time of the year, getting hot at this point, that's as much as you can ask for, especially from a team that was 6-6. And I think Joe Brady at offensive coordinator has really changed how they work offensively. I had JP on a few weeks ago, and I think he said it really well, saying there's a difference between calling plays and running an offense. Joe Brady's running an offense, and I think Ken Dorsey, for lack of a better term, was just kind of calling plays. So the fact that they found that balance, and they, like you said, Josh doesn't need to be, every member of the Justice League every week for them to have a snowball's chance in hell of winning. I think that's pretty big for them.
I like the Rasul Douglas shout out, because his playmaking ability, the 4 interceptions he has, Miami has to really pay attention to him, because they will run a lot of stuff into the flats. They'll run crossers. They'll run some short stuff to give that run after the catch opportunities. And Rasul Douglas will sit. He will sit. He will squat. And he will jump those. And the ball skills, and he can return it as well. Yeah, big guy, athletic. He has that type of mentality in the way he plays, where if they don't identify where he is early in the route concept or early into the play, that he could be due for one. Where with Tua has a tendency at times to get locked in and locked on, predetermine his reads at times, and and not completely go through his reads and turn down. Okay, I'm seeing Tyreek on a crosser, but I also see Jalen Waddle over here streaming open. You got to make that split second quick decision. And sometimes we saw against Baltimore, he got himself in trouble. Right. And he'll float one. And unfortunately, Tua will always give you an opportunity at least one. And so, and Rasul Douglas, and then Terrell Bernard, that was a guy I was really high on. I think I gave him a 3rd round grade coming out when he came out of Baylor. And I know a lot of people were like, man, he's smaller. I was like, no, listen, guys, he can ball. Like, this young man can ball. He's athletic. He does not mind tackling the run game, right? Is he going to stack and shed like Ray Lewis, and all these different bigger linebackers we've seen over the last 2-3 decades? No, he may not be able to do that because of his size, but everything else he can do: cover, blitz, rush. He's such a multifaceted defender, man. I'm happy to see him shining over there in Buffalo because, like, he's just really good. I didn't want to see him get buried on the depth chart just because he didn't meet the ideal height, weight measurements.
Yeah, he's been terrific, a godsend for that defense. I saw a stat, the first player with like 6.5 sacks, 30+ tackles, and 4 interceptions since Seth Joyner in 1992. I think so. He's had a great season. We'll stick in the AFC though. Steelers Ravens tomorrow. The Ravens basically playing their JV squad. Tyler Huntley going to start. They're resting a lot of guys as they have clinched the top seed in the AFC, so making sure everybody stays healthy. Can't blame them for doing that. No. Steelers riding a 2-game win streak. The first time they scored 30 points in consecutive games since 2020. Mason Rudolph playing really well. Pittsburgh, if they win and get a little bit of help, they need either a Buffalo loss or a Jacksonville loss on top of that to get in. There's a few other situations, but that's the easiest path for the Steelers. Let's talk about the bring an NFL draft a little bit into this too, because obviously the noise around Pittsburgh is what are they going to do at quarterback next year, regardless of the result this weekend. Your thoughts on the Steelers quarterback room? Everybody who knows me knows my thoughts in terms of what I think about Kenny Pickett and his future, or maybe lack thereof in Pittsburgh. But if you're put on your Omar Khan cap, what are you doing this offseason to address the quarterback situation for Pittsburgh?
I'm desperately looking at bringing in competition, right? Like, if you're Pittsburgh and let's say you get into the playoffs and somehow, of course, like if a Michael Penix fell to you, if a Jaden Danes was like you rush that card to the commission. Like, I'm not even waiting because I can't. For me, man, it's just you have the talent. You have 2 really good running backs, right, that complement each other very well. To me, I think what we've seen from Najee Harris when he gets those touches, as we've seen over his 2 years, he can make plays for you. He's basically another version of James Conner for you guys. You know what I mean? In terms of his skill set, not the most athletic guy, but can do a lot of different things well, catch the ball well, pass protect, run physical up the gut of the defense and everything. And then Jaylen Warren just being a do-it-all, physical, explosive, pass catching, pass protection, jitterbug. You can do everything. You have that. And then you got Pat Freiermuth, who I think is an underrated tight end who just doesn't get enough opportunities, good opportunities in terms of targets to really be able to showcase his skill set. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. They drafted one of my guys from the 2022 draft, Calvin Austin. I want to see more, get him more involved. So I think, to me, the weapons are there, right? I think the weapons are there. And defensively, when everybody's healthy, especially on that front line, when you got Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, my guy Keanu Benton, the rookie out of Wisconsin.
He's been fantastic, man.
One of my favorite players out of the 2023 NFL draft. And I talked to him, I remember talking to him at the Senior Bowl one-on-one, wrestling background, a student of the game, a young man that just desperately wants to get better. And he knows where he needs to get better. So to see him go to play for Mike Tomlin, who was also at the Senior Bowl and was working with the O-line and D-line, I was not surprised by that at all. I was like, this is a good fit. And Mike Tomlin knows what he's getting out of this young man. But, Cam Hayward and everything, having Joey Porter as a rookie, Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. This defense is good enough to win in the playoffs. They got to fix the quarterback situation. And I think a prospect that comes to my mind, especially day 2, well, it's about 2. Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina, and then Michael Pratt out of Tulane. And I think both of these guys are, with Rattler, you're getting top-tier arm talent. You're getting mobility. South Carolina had one of the worst offensive lines in college football this year, so he had to. People felt like it was kind of like C.J. Stroud stuff from last year. He doesn't do enough with his legs, but if you knew his background, you knew he's athletic. He can make plays. He just wants to sit in the pocket. Couldn't do that this year, so he had to move around. He had to get out of the pocket and make throws and make quick decisions on the run, right? Sometimes he'll get kind of, I won't go Russell Westbrook where he's like hero balling You know what I
Right.
mean? Where it's like, yeah, I got KD wide open in the corner, but I'm still going to drive it on 5. Yeah, he doesn't do that, but he does have some hero ballism in his game where you just kind of tell him like, hey, you're aggressive. I love it, but we gotta be smart with the ball. Be a little bit smarter here. Don't test that window, all right? Especially in the NFL. But like Michael Pratt, good arm talent to me. He's another mobile guy. Like he's all those white cliches, sneaky athleticism, right? All those things he's gonna hit you with. The people are gonna hit you with him, but he can actually run, man. I like his athleticism, his mobility. He's got really good his mechanics as a passer. I think he's accurate at all 3 levels. He got to continue to work on like the deep accuracy and everything, but I think this is a guy that could be a 3-level passer in the NFL. So I think those are 2 guys that, especially day one, I'm not gonna tell you to reach for anybody. You know what I'm saying? If one of those top 4 is not there, of course I forgot because he just declared this week. Cam Ward, Washington State, 2nd, 3rd round. You know what I mean? For a Steelers team, depends on where they land. If you have a deep playoff run, cool. You can grab them and have that 5th-year option with them. But at the end of the day, for me, they got to upgrade the QB situation. Kenny Pickett to me was always that 7s across the board. Just cool, average, solid. But my and I remember we were live streaming for TDN when they made the pick, and I remember saying this. I said, there's no way you look at Lamar Jackson, healthy Deshaun Watson that we thought we were going to see the Houston version of Deshaun Watson that last year he played, and then Joe Burrow, and you confidently look in your war room and say, Kenny Pickett's the answer to these 3 problems. I did not get it. I was like, because he was always a solid floor, but low ceiling prospect to me.
Right.
And being older, he had that. People always talk about the breakout age. He had that one big year, right? That one last year. He played 4 or 5 years in college. I feel like he still could be a decent quarterback, but I think that this is a team that you can't wait but so much longer for this position to take the reins. And I feel like you want to find someone that has the ability to, if at worst, he's a low end truck, right? He's like a 2005 pickup. Like he can carry some things. He may not carry the whole team, but he can carry some things. I don't look at Pickett as a truck. I feel like he's more of a hitch. Like he's not the trailer, but he's a hitch. He can connect the truck to the trailer, but it's like you got to figure out who's the truck. Now you got to figure out who's the trailer in this situation. He's just a hitch. So I definitely think that your boys need to look at upgrading the quarterback position this offseason. I saw somebody ask me, he was like, do you think Russell Wilson? And I was like, depends if he's cheap.
Yeah, he's cheap, sure. That's the big thing with that, because like it would be an obvious upgrade.
Yes.
In terms of that though, and I'm glad that you brought up like the time aspect of it. Like, could they go back to the well, draft another guy, and hope for the best? Sure, but at the same time, like Cam Hayward's not getting younger, Minkah Fitzpatrick's not getting younger, T.J. Watt's not getting it. There's only a certain amount of time that this window for this defense is still going to be there. So I would much rather, if you want to go the route of drafting a Michael Pratt or drafting a Cam Ward, that's cool, but do it while signing someone like Kirk Cousins, while signing somebody.
Kirk Cousins, yep.
I think that's my ideal situation: is get Kirk Cousins, draft a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round to have as like a Jordan Love situation where he waits for a couple years, and then when the time comes, you hand him the reins. But that's my one fear of, okay, all right, they draft Michael Penix. That's cool, but he better be good, and he better be good soon, because there's only so much time that they have left.
That's a guy. I think Penix, Daniels, those are like, of course, May and Caleb. Yeah, the top.
Obviously, yeah.
Those 2 guys, and Jaden Daniels, who I'm expecting to be a top 10 pick, and then Michael Penix, depends on what his medicals look like at the combine from the 2 torn ACLs. If he gets the all clear green flag, he might be a top 15 pick. But like if he was there, I think that's a situation where, of course, it's hard to predict things, but I envision he's the day one starter for the 2024 NFL season. I think they will be out there watching him and Pickett throw, and it's a different type of ball game here. Arm talent is different. Both guys are mobile. You know what I mean? Kenny Pickett's mobile. Michael Penix is still mobile, even with the 2 torn ACLs. But the accuracy, the ball placement, the ability to throw, even with pressure on him. Like I always looked at Kenny Pickett, where when he has to drive throws, it's very robotic. It's like immense effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we watching Michael Penix as a lefty just like flick the wrist and passes are traveling 40 yards down the field. It's traveling into tight windows. And I just like, man, you see what he's doing with Rome and Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk. And if he was able to get into offense with Deontay Johnson and, you know, George Pickens and Pat Fryermuth and, you know, this run game, right? And I'm like, man, like that's good stuff. But like you said, that's the only those either Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix, the only two I think that you would start day one and feel like, hey, we can make a playoff run potentially. Other than that, the other guys, you know, Cam Ward, Spencer, Michael Pratt, grab a Russell Wilson, grab a Kirk Cousins, get one of these veterans that can come in and start and give you the best chance to win right now while your OC and QB coach are working with the young guy behind the scenes, help the whole cliche. Learn how to be a pro, hold the clipboard, all that type of stuff. Watch the mistakes even the veteran does. Like, all right, you see what you just did? Don't you do that when you get in there. You know what I mean? Those type of things, man. But this team, to me, outside of a few, like add cornerback, you know, you Steelers got to get another cornerback and stuff.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, I think this team is ready to make a big playoff run with the right quarterback under center.
Well, fingers crossed that they get it because, man, you know, realizing how what's the word? How spoiled I've been as a fan. Yeah, having Ben Roethlisberger for 20 years and then the last 2 years doing nothing but bitch and moan about quarterback play. That's how I've spent my days. Let's go to the NFC though, because let's talk about the real story. Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold this weekend. Let's get it. It's going to be great times. I think that the Rams might be like, if I'm the NFC, they're the last TFC right now because obviously San Francisco is a wagon, but the Rams with just the fact the expectations that they just completely exceeded this year. There's a lot of talk from myself included saying they might be, you know, drafting in the top 5. They just don't have the horses. Stafford has had maybe the best year of his career. Like you look at how he, especially down the stretch, like the past month and a half, he's played out of his mind. Obviously, Puka Nacua has been fantastic. Just your thoughts on the Rams right now, man, because the fact that they clinched the playoff spot, they're going to, you know, give Stafford and a bunch of guys a bunch of rest this week. But like I said, I don't want to play him. And there's a decent chance that we could see Matthew Stafford marching back into Detroit wild card weekend to play the Detroit Lions. And my God, inject that story in my veins. I'm here for it.
Bro, I'm telling you now, Lions fans don't want any part of that story playing out at all. And this, like you said, this is a team that a lot of people almost had dead to rights, like, you know, writing the eulogy, like, no, they're done. It was before the season. Like, man, Stafford, you know, he's got a lot of injuries. I think it's a wrap, right? And then I think it was the Stetson Bennett pick in the 4th round. People thought
I forgot about Stetson Bennett.
People thought he had a real shot starting this year and everything. And it was just like Stafford and this offense, Sean McVay, Aaron Donald, like, and it was crazy because what they've always said, you know, the shirts when they won the Super Bowl, F them picks. But meanwhile, Kyron Williams, 5th round pick, Puka Nacua, 5th round pick, Byron Young, I think 2nd or 3rd round pick from the 2023 NFL draft class. Like
Kobe Durant,
they have nailed the draft when they make their picks.
Yeah.
And for me, they are terrifying. I think for every single NFC team to face, like, because they can run the ball. And it's so much a testament to things, man. When you look at Puka, people say, well, okay, he looks the part, but I don't think he's going to run a 4.3. And if he's not running 4.3, I'm out, right? Kyron Williams runs a 4.6 or whatever at the combine. He measures at 5'9". People are like, yeah, I want no parts of that, right? And it's like Byron Young, he's a 24-year-old edge rusher from a small town in South Carolina, so forth and so on. I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. And these 3 rookies are making big-time plays in big-time moments. So Kyron's, I call him a rookie because it's like the NBA joint. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't do much your first year. I give you that rookie tag in the second year. But their ability to run the ball, play action, Stafford is playing. I feel like he's playing the most free and loose football I've ever seen in his career. And that's crazy to think he played with freaking Megatron. And he's playing more loose now with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp as his top wideouts. But he's playing free. there's nothing he hasn't seen from a defense, and you're not going to just easily outsmart him. The way he still can just drop the arm angle and flick it into different throwing lanes and the trajectory and everything. He's like an all-star pitcher out there.
Mm.
And he just truly is getting the best out of his players. And again, like for me, watching Kyron Williams tote the rock, like I want people to. I'm not saying because I'll be there. I'll be at the combine. I'm not saying we devalue the combine, but I'm saying that we kind of devalue the combine because at some point we have to start looking at these guys as more than just numbers and measurements on a stat sheet and on a spreadsheet. Like, yeah, okay, he's 5'9". I've seen a lot of 6'2", 210-pound running backs that couldn't make a lateral cut to save their life. So it's like to watch this young man string together cuts, finish runs. He's one of the best pass protecting running backs, and he's not even 6 feet. And he catches the ball out of the backfield. He does so many things. This team, and dear God, don't let him get a lead on you, because then now you're telling Aaron Donald, you have all day. Pin your ears back.
Pin your ears back and go
get him. You know, work. Like, so this is a team, I think, heading into the draft for them, I'm really looking for them to add more cornerback talent after losing Jalen Ramsey. But even the young guys they have done an admirable job in this first year without Jalen. But man, like this is a team that they're red hot. And I don't want to. I wouldn't want to face them. I don't care if I'm the Niners. Like, you know what I mean? I think they played the Niners very close early in the season, if I remember correctly. So, and that was like the beginning of that was like week 4. That was before they really got their groove going. You know what I mean? This is maybe one of the scariest teams in the NFL right now. Like the way they're playing and how hot they're playing, the confidence they have. Oh no! And then you think about those 5th round guys, those guys that were slept on. They playing with a chip on their shoulder. So you don't want to face guys like that who have a point to prove in the playoffs. Like, yeah, your team passed on me. You had a need at running back. Kyron Williams probably still checks that off. Yeah, we going into Detroit. I mean, you drafted Jahmyr Gibbs this year. Great for you. But you could have had me last year. I'm just saying. Now I'm going to come in here and try to put 200 on your head.
And it's not even just like the guys that they drafted. It's, the cast-offs from other teams. Like Ahkello Witherspoon was bad last year in Pittsburgh. He goes to the Rams and has a much better season. Kevin Dotson, they traded for from Pittsburgh. He was going to be a backup, and he's been one of the best guards in football this year. So they've gotten so much value, both from late-round draft picks, guys who were kind of cast-offs from other teams, and they've just pieced together this Frankenstein's monster of different guys, and it's just worked. But they started off slow, too. I think they were when Stafford went down ahead of the Green Bay game, I think they were like 4-6, 4 and somewhere in there. And like they had to rally to win a bunch of games in a row and come back. So credit to them, credit to Sean McVay for all the work that they've done. And again, I don't want to face them. Don't care who I am, especially like if they run into the 49ers, like I'm not completely ruling out the Rams. Like these are two teams that know each other really well. They play each other twice a year. They always play each other close. So they are the last team I'm ruling out right now. The Cleveland Browns, I talked to Cam Justice a little bit about them on Tuesday, but are they maybe the most complete team in the AFC right now? Because like I look at Baltimore and say, yep, they're probably the favorites as of right now. Lamar's playing well, probably going to be the MVP. The defense has been really good this year. But the Browns defense is better. Joe Flacco's been on I don't even know what the hell to call this, man. It's crazy. It's great. It's been very fun to watch the renaissance. I don't know. It's kind of like his Kurt Warner year. Remember in like 2008 when he was with the Cardinals? I feel like that's kind of similar vibes.
That's a great call.
Yeah. And look, maybe he has a similar situation where he gets the Browns to the Super Bowl like Kurt Warner did. I don't know. But regardless, this Browns team is incredibly deep. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, and it hasn't mattered. Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz have done tremendous jobs on both sides of the ball. Who would have thought? When Nick Chubb went down, I think a lot of people wrote them off because they're like, okay, well, Deshaun Watson isn't playing well. They don't have their star running back now. They're going to have to lean a lot on Jerome Ford. They brought back Kareem Hunt. They've had injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but we've seen guys like Martin Emerson has had a really good year. Obviously, Myles Garrett has played tremendous as he usually does. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah has played really well. They've had so many guys that, coming off more of a down year, have all picked up and played well. Cleveland, to me, while like if they face Baltimore, I'd probably still lean Baltimore, but man, Yeah, we talked about the Rams being a wagon that we don't want to face. Cleveland is that right now for the AFC.
No, 100%. 100%. I think, to watch Joe Flacco unlock this passing attack, it's just been such a joy to watch, man. The guy just literally got up off his couch. You know what I mean? Just got up, and I don't need 7 weeks of getting ready. I
David Njoku, how are you? It's nice to meet
legit. And just the chemistry between him and Amari Cooper, right? Like typically, like, you think of like, okay, if he's like the second string QB or third string, do you typically see guys have that with someone lower on the totem pole that's on that third team with them, right. Scout team, different things like that. To see him just step in and just have that chemistry, that timing, that rhythm with their star wide receiver has been outstanding. Not even just Amari, but just unlocking and getting the David Njoku that we all know is in there. Right. You know what I mean? Like that big.
This is the best David Njoku has ever looked. The best he's ever looked in the past month and a half has been with Flacco.
And it's so much fun to see, right? And getting even prior to the concussion scare with Elijah Moore, like just getting him the ball and just the way that Flacco is, it's kind of Jason Kiddish, like he's just that older, just point guard, just like I've seen it all, here getting to it, getting it to everybody.
What was that Jason Kidd with the Mavericks that beat the Heat team? Was it 2010?
It was. So like just watching that, and like I said, having that defense to lean on, where their defensive scheme, like they can run zone if they want, they can run press man if they want, they can do whatever they want. Like, you know what I mean? They can help stop the run. And then when they get a lead, just like, we talk about Aaron Donald, now you tell Myles Garrett, do what you do best. Like, and that's a scary thought for an offense, right? Like you in the playoffs, you don't want to see them and see them get a 10-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. And you have to throw, right? You know what I mean? Because you're like, okay, if we don't score here, we give them the ball back at 10 minutes on the clock, and they get to run their 8-minute offense now. You know what I mean? Just drain the clock down and walk out of here. No, we want to try and throw it. So that means Myles Garrett is going to have many opportunities in the last 12 minutes to get to your quarterback. And I think, even with Zadarius Smith and, like I said, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, this defense and this team is just, I don't know who would be the best matchup. Like who if they walk into that playoff game where it's like, all right, I think they will knock them out, it would ease. Right. I don't think there's a team in the AFC that truly, like, I would feel that way. If Miami saw them, I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If Buffalo saw them, like, because this is a physical team on both sides of the football. They want to play physical. Like that cold weather, it's windy, it's snowing. Like, we love it here. Like, we want to pound you. We want to punch you in the mouth.
Hey, there's a greater than zero chance that, even if Buffalo loses this week, that they get in the playoffs. There's a decent chance that we get like Browns, Bills divisional round in Cleveland, just Lake Erie snow, just awful weather. It's greater than zero chance we get that.
No, and it's a shot for it, and it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I'm with you. If it's Baltimore, I still feel good about Baltimore, but that's a house that Joe Flacco lived in. You know what I mean? So,
talk about stories, man. We could get Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit and Joe Flacco going back to Baltimore. Sign me up, man. I'm in.
Outstanding. Like, that's what the playoffs is about. Fun storylines, things to write home about. And I'm excited just to kind of see where this all goes, after wild card weekend and after we get into the week 2 of the playoffs, because it's going to be some heartbreak. It's going to be some joy. It's going to be a lot of different emotions at this playoff, I think, because this is probably one of the most unpredictable ones we've had in quite some time.
Imagine seeing like Browns Lions with Jared Goff and Joe Flacco. It'd be like, some Madden ass franchise thing. Like 2014, you look at it, you're like, what the hell is this? Like, oh my goodness, This is the weirdest simulation franchise I've ever done.
Right.
Let's talk about Black Monday, because there will be coaches that are fired. I think that there's some that we can kind of pencil in. One of them being Ron Rivera in Washington. With the Commanders having new ownership, I think that Josh Harris and company are going to be patient, and they're not going to – whoever goes there next, I think, will have the luxury of knowing, okay, I'm going to have a few years to, do this my way. They'll probably do, something similar to what has become more the norm, where it's a GM head coach pairing, bring them in together, and then figure this thing out and start this rebuild. In terms of names that we're going to be watching, Eric Bieniemy, who's already there. We'll see if they decide to just give him the head coach tag, or if they look outside. But what are some names that you're paying attention to in terms of guys that could be getting the head coach call
for Black Monday?
For Black Monday.
I got to start in Atlanta with Arthur Smith,
right?
And this is one that personally I said it on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with my co-host Keith, and I said, man, if this thing does not go, it was after the draft and everything. I was like, okay, you had a lot of different needs. You went running back top 10, which I'm a former running back. I'm always root for my guys.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I've watched you draft my Kyle Pitts and Drake London in the top 10
and just not use them.
So I'm just like, and then we get to the season and we wonder, do you know how to use Bijan at all? Like, you know what I'm saying? So you had the debacle before, like with that one game where it's like, oh, he's
I was going to say he just benched him for
him.
Weird
he
reason.
Got fined for that. I'm pretty sure. I think
that they did. Yeah.
So it's like, I think he's probably one of my leading candidates of, and the way that they've just played, it's been very the QB carousel. Going, starting Desmond Ridder, going to Taylor Heineke, going back to Desmond Ridder, going back to Taylor Heineke. And then also last year, to me, should play a factor. You had Marcus Mariota out there who was playing horrible football. You could have known going into the 2023 NFL draft if you truly felt comfortable with Desmond Ridder, right? You could have given him a 8 to 10 game audition to where if he played the way he played this year in those 10 games, you say in the 2023 NFL draft, we're not going running back. We're trading up to go get an Anthony Richardson, to go get a CJ Stroud, to go get a difference maker at quarterback. You didn't do that. You allowed Marcus Mariota to stay and all the stuff that happened. So I think he's a prime candidate to get the axe. Look, of course, like you said, Ron Rivera. I would say, I would love for Sean Payton not to be in Denver. I'm not pleased with what has happened in Denver.
I don't blame you. I think that the way he's gone.
At first, I hated trading the first round pick for him. I think that was stupid.
Sure. Can we talk about
that I value highly enough?
No. Can we talk about just how overrated the media as a whole has made Sean Payton? Like, I feel like
very
for a guy who's had, one Super Bowl back in 2009, 2010. Had a bunch of 7-9, 8-8 seasons in between. And I just didn't see why everybody was chomping at the bit, especially in Denver, just to, all right, we'll trade the farm to bring in Sean Payton.
You had a bad O-line. You needed offensive lineman. You needed so many different things in that first round that you could have gotten with that pick. And you traded for a coach. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah. In theory, when you could have, brought in a guy like Shane Steichen and still kept all those picks and maybe got something more out of Russell Wilson than what you've got. Now, Russell obviously played much better than what he did last year.
Yeah,
I think the stats are a little bit deceiving this year in terms of like how good he was, but regardless, was much better than what he was last season. It's all just very weird. I don't think Sean Payton's going anywhere, but yeah, that is something that would be.
They're not going.
I don't. What do you think that Antonio Pierce keeps the job in Vegas?
I would like for him to, because I think he's done a great job, like with this team. Like you have Aiden O'Connell at quarterback right now, guys. Like think about that. Like no disrespect to AOC, but he's not the answer. And they're still able to win games. Josh Jacobs being out with the I think it was a hamstring, and getting Zamir White going, right? Getting former 5-star recruit that had 2 torn ACLs himself, right? And to get him rolling, you knock off Kansas City, you know what I mean, in a big time game that I don't think a lot of people even gave you much hope or respect going into that game.
I think they were like 13.5-point dogs going into that game. Nobody gave them a shot in hell.
Punched Casey in the mouth. You know what I mean? Played physical. And I also think he's finding, his defensive mindset that they're finding a way to get the 7th overall pick, Tyree Wilson, going a little bit more where, hey, guys, if you just watch the tape, he was never an edge rusher. He was a He was a guy that could play the edge on rundowns, but you wanted that athleticism, that length, that power on the inside against shorter arm interior offensive linemen. Let him dominate in there, right? Let him develop there. So I would like to see him keep the job. We'll see. We've seen this before, right? With Rich Bisaccia, and they went with the big Josh McDaniels hire, and that backfired. You know what I mean? Where you fired him during the season. I wonder as well, kind of looking at Dennis Allen in New Orleans. If they miss the playoffs, like I wonder what happens there, because there's just going to be change, right? Like Michael Thomas is probably not going to be there. It's crazy how that career has gone, where he was one of the best in the game 4 years ago.
Right.
And now it's like we never hear his name uttered, whether it's injury issue with the franchise, stuff like that. So, do they go with maybe a more offensive-minded head coach to try and get the best out of their $40 million man, that's Derek Carr, who hasn't played up to the contract just yet? Do they lean in that direction, right? And maybe try to go after a Ben Johnson. He's going to be the hottest name on the market, I'm assuming, this year, as he should be. He's one of the best offensive coordinators and play callers, like you said, calling a game and in designing a plays for a game, is so pivotal, and he does those things. Robert Saleh, I don't want to see Saleh, get the axe. But
Saleh's interesting to me because not even obviously no one expected to lose Aaron Rodgers in the first 2 snaps of the season and everything. So it's hard to evaluate him as a whole when he's had Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle and Mike White last year. And it has been just a never-ending carousel of just crap at the quarterback position.
Defense is great.
Defense has been awesome, yeah. At the same time, though, man, like the way that he handled the quarterback situation this year, too, was very just, we're sticking with Zach Wilson. Oh, no, never mind. We're going to go to Tim Boyle. No, we're going to go back to Zach Wilson. Oh, Zach Wilson doesn't want to play? Oh, crap. Well, let's see if we can talk him into playing. Like, it's just been a very weird situation.
Hiring Nathaniel Hackett was a wild decision. It had everything to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, just turning the New York Jets into Aaron Rodgers and friends, basically.
Alan Lazard was Randall Cobb, like just going and getting everyone that Aaron Rodgers loves and trusts. Those 7 people in this whole world that he loves and trusts. He could have probably gotten Pat McAfee if he wanted to just let him sit on the bench, because you know what I'm saying. Aaron Rodgers loves Pat McAfee too, and Pat, I love Pat, but like legitimately, man, like I think there's a discussion to be there, and of course, the team they're playing this weekend, Bill Belichick. I think that's the elephant in the room. Like, what is New England going? Are they really going to do it? You know what I mean? Are they going to be the end of an era of Bill Belichick, 20 plus years? Like, are we really going to pull the rug out? We're going to open the door. Thank you for your services. We have to finally go a different direction.
I think that they will, and I think that they should, because, and this is probably more on Bill Belichick, the GM, than Bill Belichick, the head coach. But 100%. he hasn't done a good job of team building, and he's shelled out a ton of money to bad wide receivers, like a lot of money to Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker. Juju Smith-Schuster's not a bad wide receiver, but he's not worth the money that they gave him.
Right.
Paying a lot of money for Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith a couple years ago, like the way that he's divvied up assets.
They traded Jonnu Smith the very next year.
Yeah. So the way that he's divvied up assets as a GM hasn't been good. That's why, like, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Bill Belichick to the Chargers. If I'm the Chargers, man, like, do I want that? Like, do I want a 70-something-year-old head coach with my superstar quarterback who's proven that he's not good at team building? Like, I don't think I want that. Head coach-wise, sure. I'm sure that, the fact that the Patriots have won as many games that they have this year is a miracle, and they won't do that without a really good head coach. But the product that they put on the field is largely because of him, because he's the one in charge of making those decisions. So I think that he'll want to keep going in terms of being a head coach. But if I'm an NFL team right now who needs a head coach, like say I'm Washington and whatnot, I'm saying, look, Bill, we'd love to have you. You're not being the GM though. And if he doesn't like that, which he might not, then sorry, then I'll go try to get a Ben Johnson. Like, this could work out for New England very well, because let's say that they get Ben Johnson and then they draft Drake May or Caleb Williams. Oh no. Oh, great.
I completely forgot that they have like the second pick in the draft right now, third pick. And I think that's how I feel as well. Is like, if you can get Bill Belichick, the head coach, like to just be the head coach, and then you bring in a GM with him.
Right.
That okay. First, the GM cannot. I don't want the GM tied to him. I don't want it
That's
to be one of his friend
yes.
GMs.
Yes.
We're not doing that. Like, no, I want a GM that you can work with that's going to draft appropriately, not reach for Tyquan Thornton in the second round, not take Cole Strange in the back end of the first round, not go into the 2023 NFL draft class knowing that you don't have any receivers of substance and of worth that can really help Mac Jones not so much develop, because his game, like physically, he's tapped. It's more so helping take the load off of him to where you can just allow him to be a point guard, right? No, you say, we're going to draft another running back. We're going to get 3 more interior offensive linemen. And then we're going to go grab 2 receivers at 6th, 7th round. And it's like last year's class had a lot of good talent. Smaller guys, in the rounds 3, 4, 5 and stuff like that, but good talent. I think it was just a very weird situation. So I think if you can get Bill Belichick under those circumstances, cool. The thing with the Chargers is interesting because I just wonder, like, even if you get him, does he try to bring in someone offensive coordinator wise to run that complex Patriot way offense?
Yeah.
I don't want that for Justin Herbert. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want that for Herbert, man. Like, just get a good offensive coordinator that's going to call plays, that's going to be balanced, but also allow Justin Herbert to be Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, we talked about Ben Johnson a lot this show. I think that is kind of the dream pairing right there is, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm looking at Herbert and I'm saying, I would go there. I think that would be just fine to call plays for Justin Herbert. That would be great. And you brought up defensive coaches, and I wanted to say this. Like, you look at the best teams in the league right now. What do almost all of them have in common? They've got either a good head coach and or a really good quarterback. Like, you look at the 49ers, best offensive-minded head coach in the league. Brock Purdy's played really well. The Rams had McVay. Andy Reid in Kansas City with Mahomes, offensive-minded guys. If I'm hiring a head coach in today's NFL, I'm hesitant on making it a defensive-minded head coach. And there's few examples of this where it works out. Like, obviously, D'Amico has played really well, but also he came from a Kyle Shanahan system where he knows,
the QB coach or whoever
exactly
with him.
Exactly, my point exactly. I think that in today's NFL, I'm hesitant on hiring a defensive-minded head coach unless they are bringing in a smart offensive mind with them, that they're going to basically be like, I'm going to give you the keys to the offense. I'll worry about the defensive side of the ball and whatnot. But we look at, like, the Bills with Sean McDermott, I think have, been far too conservative in different situations. I think in large parts, Mike Tomlin is too conservative in a lot of different situations. I think that going forward, we're going to see a lot less defensive-minded guys get these calls.
I think you're right, and I think if you're going to be if you're going to hire a defensive-minded guy, like you said, I love that point of you need to bring a smart offensive coordinator with you, because I want you to be the reverse Sean McVay. Because remember when Sean McVay first got to the Rams, he brought in Wade Phillips, and remember all those different sideline cuts where the defense is on the field. And McVay is like, forget that. I'm on the water cooler devising. I'm drawing up the next couple plays for the next drive. He's focused solely on the offense. I want my defensive-minded head coach to be focused solely on the defense, where he has someone he can trust that's going to, like D'Amico Ryans, where it's like, yeah, I can get if the offense is kind of sluggish, you need me to walk into the huddle, say a few choice words, get these guys going 100%, right? Because he's got that respect from the team. But you want him to have an offensive coordinator he can trust. And even with, like, the Baltimore Ravens, I think because it's kind of almost a novice thing to go into the college ranks, getting Todd Monken, best they made. Getting rid of Greg Roman, who I was calling for him to be fired 3 years ago, because it's limiting his offense is fresh for 2 years. Okay, it's literally like a loaf of bread you get from the grocery store. You can't keep it forever, man. You know what I mean? It's gonna start having those spots on you. Like, you know what? I gotta get rid of this. I can't do it. So it's that type of situation. So maybe you look at some of these offensive-minded, like, not so much for head coach. Don't do the Clifford Kingsbury thing, but offensive coordinators. If you're a defensive coach, and you go get some of these innovative guys from college, Brendan Marion, the innovator and the creator of the go-go offense when he was at Hawaii. He was the offense. He was one of the, I think he was a receivers coach for Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison that final year at Pitt. Then when we saw Xavier Worthy and Quinn Ewers last year take a leap, he was at Texas, and then he was at UNLV this year, and their offense was legitimate. So he knows. And if you don't know about Brendan Mayer, go Google his college stats. He was an outstanding wide receiver in college. His numbers are incredible. So I think that the NFL needs to open their mindset a little bit and go look at some of these other guys that's not in the NFL. Let's stop recycling coaches. Let's go get some new fresh faces to step in and kind of call our offenses.
Absolutely. I'm definitely with you in that, where it's like, let's stop being a boys club and just recycling different guys in different spots every year. Let's get younger. Let's get fresh. Let's get new.
Be a little more innovative.
Absolutely. Before we go, if right now in the AFC, the playoff spot's still up for grabs. I think it's Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Houston, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, all fighting for playoff spots. 3 of them will get in, 2 of them will be gone. Who are the 3 that you think get in?
I think Houston gets in. I think Pittsburgh gets in. I think they beat the B team for the Ravens.
All comes down to if you think that the Bills will beat the Dolphins, then I guess.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo.
There we go. Love to see
Buffalo.
It. All right, buddy. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. What have you got coming in terms of content this coming week?
I got a mock draft that just dropped yesterday on draftnetwork.com. So go check that out. For whole first round, no trades, nothing crazy, but I think I some prospects that I don't think a lot of people are kind of paying attention to for the first round consideration. So go check that out. Of course, 5 days a week. Check out me and Keith Sanchez over on Locked On NFL Draft on Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube, Locked On NFL Draft. Go subscribe to all that good stuff. And then, of course, I'll start, covering the Dolphins and the Niners for A to Z Sports, writing for them, covering the Dolphins and Niners. So I'll have a piece. Hopefully, I have a piece out before the game on Sunday.
Oh yeah, we're coworkers now. I forgot about that. Yeah, cheers to that, buddy.
Sir.
You're gonna be in Mobile, right, then, for the Senior Bowl?
Oh yeah, 100%. You already know it. Yeah, so I'll be in Mobile. We're going through, of course, like with the podcast, we just went through like college football playoffs, the first, recapping the first 2 games, previewing the episode that's live today, preview the national championship game, kind of talk about the prospects to watch, all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely tap in, man, because it's go time now. It's draft season, baby.
Absolutely. Well, I will see you in Mobile then, my friend. We'll go get some sort of barbecue and eat till we die. It'll be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
So I'll see you then. Hey, man, I appreciate you joining me. Appreciate everybody for watching, listening, however you do it. Week 18 coming this Sunday. And then next week, we'll be back to preview the wild card round as we speed through the rest of the NFL playoffs and then fast track to the Super Bowl and then Mobile, the Combine, all that. And then it's been a blur, but we're going to keep trucking along. It's a pump fake. See y'all next week after week 18.